The room was quiet, broken only by the soft crackle of a record spinning in the corner. A single lamp cast its amber glow across the walls as the night settled in. Tonight, we're shining a light on 10 overlooked R&B bands from the 1970s.
Begging you to stay any day now.
Groups whose names never made the magazine covers, but whose music slipped into everyday life and never really left. These weren't spotlight chasers. They played from the heart, with the same sweat and soul as the biggest names of the era. Back then, music lived with you. It drifted through screen doors at dinner time, poured out of car windows at dusk, and echoed through gymnasiums, corner bars, and quiet jukebox corners. Some of the best of it came from bands you didn't hear talked about much, but felt deeply all the same. These are the hidden voices that stayed with the people who found them. And when we reach number 1, you'll hear a band whose tender haunting track still shows up when the night gets quiet enough. Let's begin with number 10. Number 10, Sho'nuff. They weren't a household name, but if you ever wandered into a dimly lit lounge in the mid-70s and caught a set from Sho'nuff, you wouldn't forget the way they moved a room. Based out of Atlanta, Sho'nuff emerged during a time when R&B was stretching its legs, experimenting and fusing soul with funk and feeling. Their sound had a slick, rhythmic backbone. Think tight horns, deep grooves, and vocals that could glide one moment and growl the next.
So you think you love him? Wanna blow your mind? Wanna blow your mind?
There was something raw and unvarnished about their energy, as if the songs weren't just arranged but lived in. Their 1975 track, I Live Across the Street, didn't chart high, but it became a regional favorite. Slow, sensual, with just the right hint of heartbreak. One detail you might never guess: their guitarist, Ernie Field, used to soak his strings in olive oil to get that buttery sustain. Strange maybe, but it worked. His solos had this sly, sliding warmth that stayed in your ear. Sho'nuff was the kind of band you stumbled upon and felt lucky to hear. Their records didn't scream, they simmered. And if you were going through something, their music didn't try to fix it. It just sat next to you quietly, letting you feel it. Some bands burn bright and fast. Sho'nuff was a slow ember in the dark. Number 9, The Fabulous Counts. Long before the word funk had carved its permanent groove into music history, the Fabulous Counts were already laying down the foundation. Hailing from Detroit, right in Motown's backyard, this band didn't chase polished pop sheen. Instead, they lived deep in the pocket, where the rhythm gripped tight and didn't let go.
Finding my baby, I found an empty bed. Jump back, baby, walk back.
By the early 70s, the group had shortened their name to simply The Counts, but their sound remained rich with soul jazz influences, punchy horns, and a rhythm section that pulsed like a city's heartbeat. Tracks like Jan Jan and Rhythm Changes didn't top the charts, but they lived on in the crates of DJs and collectors who knew the real gold was off the beaten path. The beauty of The Counts was in their restraint. They didn't need to shout to be heard. They grooved, they swung, and they understood something many bands missed. Sometimes the spaces between the notes say more than the notes themselves. In the studio, they recorded live, straight to tape, often finishing full takes without a single overdub. That gave their music a warmth, an urgency, a presence. You can feel the breath between the brass hits, the push and pull of real musicians playing in real time. It was music for dancing, yes, but also for thinking, for riding in your car long after the party was over, windows cracked, drums still echoing in your chest. Not every band needed a lead singer to tell the story. The Counts let the instruments talk, and oh, how they spoke. Number 8, New Birth. There was a moment in the early 70s when R&B was reaching skyward, stretching into something bigger, deeper, almost orchestral. That's where New Birth came in. more a collective than a traditional band. They fused funk, soul, and sweeping vocal harmonies into something that felt cinematic. Formed in Louisville, Kentucky, New Birth began as a group of smaller acts under the guidance of producer Harvey Fuqua. Their sound was layered. Lush strings one moment, gospel-rooted shouting the next, all underpinned by groove-heavy instrumentation that could make your chest thump. One of their standout tracks, Wildflower, recorded in 1973, was a cover, but they transformed it into something sacred. The vocals rose and fell like prayer, and when the drums kicked in, it was like the earth underneath you shifted just slightly. It wasn't just a song, it was a sermon. Their concerts were something to behold. With so many members on stage, vocalists, horns, rhythm section, it felt like a celebration, a family reunion wrapped in rhythm. And yet, amid all that sound, they never lost the soul, a quiet detail. Lead singer Leslie Wilson would warm his voice backstage not with scales, but with soft humming and silent prayer. He believed the emotion had to come before the technique. You can hear that belief in every note he sang. New Birth didn't just make music, they created moments. Moments that felt like home, or heartbreak, or hallelujah, depending on where you were in life. Some songs fade with time. Theirs hang in the air like incense, long after the last note. Number 7, Black Heat. Some bands arrive like a gust of wind. Unexpected, loud, and full of movement. That's how Black Heat hit the scene in the early 1970s. Born out of Washington, D.C., they brought with them a blast of high-octane funk infused with R&B and jazz overtones that made you sit up straight and listen. They weren't chasing crossover fame or smoothing out the edges for radio. Black Heat was gritty, pulsing, and unapologetically rhythmic. Their 1972 self-titled debut hit like a punch. Tight percussion, snappy bass lines, and horn stabs that cut clean through. Songs like The Jungle felt like they were built for the city streets. Alive, urgent, restless. But there was sophistication too. Under the fire was finesse. Saxophonist and bandleader John L. Gray had a background in jazz, and he poured that knowledge into arrangements that surprised you just when you thought you had the groove figured out. One little known fact. During one late-night session at Atlantic Studios, the band laid down 3-track back-to-back without a single break, chasing the energy of the moment. That kind of raw live intensity, you can feel it in their recordings. Black Heat was the kind of band that made you move first and think later. But once you did think about it, you realized there was a whole lot of craft beneath the sweat. They didn't need chart toppers. They had street corners, block parties, and late-night sets where the real fans lived. Number 6, The Natural 4. Some voices don't just sing, they ache. And The Natural 4 knew how to pour that ache into every note. Hailing from Oakland, California, this quartet brought a kind of elegant soul to the 1970s that felt both refined and deeply personal. Their early years were humble, releasing regional singles that flirted with modest success. But when they signed with Curtis Mayfield's Curtom label in the early part of the decade, something shifted. Suddenly, their harmonies had a richer canvas, and the production, often guided by Leroy Hudson, wrapped around them like velvet. Their 1973 track, Can This Be Real, became their best-known song, and for good reason. It's the kind of slow groove that makes time stretch out. The lead vocal doesn't push, it pleads. Softly, sincerely. It feels like a love letter you were never meant to read, written at 2 in the morning with a trembling hand. One beautiful detail. The background harmonies were often recorded in near darkness, The producer believed the group sang closer, more intimately, when the lights were low. That closeness, you can hear it. It feels like they're right there with you, singing into your quiet. The Natural Four never chased flash. Their songs were about longing, tenderness, and the spaces between people. For those going through heartache or holding on to new love, their records were like trusted friends. Not all soul shouts. Some of it whispers, gently reminding us what it feels like to feel. If these songs are stirring something in you, you're not alone. This channel is here to keep these memories alive, one soulful note at a time. If that matters to you, subscribing helps us keep the music playing. Number 5, creative source. Every now and then, a band comes along that sounds like a cool breeze on a hot city night. That's creative source. Formed in Los Angeles in the early 1970s, this group delivered smooth soul with a touch of West Coast shimmer. Laid back but never lazy. Their sound was refined, dressed sharp, and always a little mysterious.
That's the feeling.
They're often remembered for their 1973 rendition of You Can't Hide Love, a tune Earth, Wind, and Fire would later make famous. But if you listen to Creative Source's version, you'll hear something different, something quieter, more intimate. Their harmonies float like smoke from a candle, and the arrangement breathes like it knows the room it's in. There's elegance in their restraint. The drums are soft but certain. The guitars, warm and unhurried. And the vocals, especially from Barbara Berryman, carry a kind of quiet confidence, like someone who doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. One touching detail. The band often rehearsed in a modest garage behind a small church in South Central Los Angeles. On summer nights, neighbors would gather just outside, lawn chairs and all, to listen in. For them, it was free concert magic. For the band, it was sacred space. Creative Source didn't break the mold, they refined it. Their music didn't try to grab you. It waited patiently, knowing that once you really listened, you'd stay. And for those who did, their songs still echo, soft and clear. Number 4, the Soul Children. When Memphis Soul is mentioned, most folks think of Stax Records and the heavyweights who made it famous. But just under that bright spotlight stood the Soul Children, quietly crafting songs with grit, grace, and gospel-soaked emotion that reached deep into the everyday. Formed in 1968 by Stax's Isaac Hayes and David Porter, the Soul Children carried into the 1970s with a unique edge. Their lineup, 2 men and 2 women, allowed for rich, dynamic harmonies and back-and-forth vocal storytelling that mirrored real relationships with all their fire and fragility. By the time their 1974 hit I'll Be the Other Woman rolled out, the group had found its voice. That song didn't ask for sympathy. It laid bare the truth of a love triangle from the perspective of the one left waiting. It was raw, tender, and brutally honest. Anita Lewis's lead vocal wasn't theatrical. It was lived in, weary, and stunningly real. Behind the scenes, the band often recorded in Studio A with the lights dimmed low and chairs arranged in a circle. The goal was connection. They wanted to feel like they were singing to each other, not at microphones. The Soul Children weren't flashy. They didn't break into pop stardom, but they didn't need to. They were telling stories, the kind you didn't always admit to, but always understood. And in those stories, many found their own reflection staring quietly back. Number 3, the Montclairs. There's a certain kind of soul that doesn't rush in. It eases into the room like an old friend showing up at just the right time. That was the gift of the Montclairs. Formed in East St. Louis, this group brought a smooth, emotionally layered sound to the early 70s that never tried to shout over the crowd. Instead, they invited you to lean in, Led by the golden voice of Phil Perry, who would later become a solo standout, the Montclairs specialized in mid-tempo ballads and harmony-rich grooves that wrapped around you like a warm coat on a cold day.
It's always hard to love the one that hurts you.
Their standout track, Dreaming's Out of Season, isn't just a love song. It's a lament. The kind of song you'd play when the lights are low and you're remembering someone who never quite left your heart. Musically, their arrangements were uncluttered but lush. Soft strings, gentle brass, and a rhythm section that knew when to hold back. It was romantic without being sentimental, soulful without ever becoming slick. One poignant detail: Phil Perry often recorded his vocals in one take, choosing to keep the little imperfections because, as he said, that's where the truth lives. You can hear it in every wavering note, every held breath. The Montclairs didn't stick around long in the industry, but the records they left behind feel timeless. Their music wasn't made for the charts. It was made for the quiet moments we carry with us. And those moments never go out of season. Number 2, The Independents. Some harmonies feel like a handshake. Warm, familiar, grounding. The Independents, out of Chicago, delivered exactly that. Their music was sincere, heartfelt, and deeply human. Anchored in the kind of love songs that didn't just speak to relationships, but to resilience.
Listen.
Formed in the early 70s and co-founded by Chuck Jackson and Marvin Yancey, the Independents carved out a space that felt both classic and fresh. Their 1973 hit, Leaving Me, is one of those songs that catches you off guard. It's soft, almost hesitant, as if each word is being weighed before it's sung. But when the chorus comes, it swells with heartbreak, the kind that's not bitter, just tired and true. What made the Independents stand out was the warmth in their delivery. Every track felt lived in. There was no flash, no studio gimmickry, just honest voices over simple, elegant arrangements that left space for the listener to breathe. Behind the scenes, the group had a habit of recording late at night, when the city outside was quiet and the emotion in the room felt more present. Chuck once said those hours brought out the truth, and it shows in every note. The group disbanded too soon, but Marvin Yancey went on to produce and write for Natalie Cole, shaping her sound in the years to come. Still, for many, the Independents remain a cherished secret. A whisper passed from one soul fan to another. Their music reminds us that sometimes the quietest voices are the ones that stay with us longest. Number 1, Sweet Charles and the Daps. There's something unforgettable about the first time you hear a groove so smooth it feels like it was poured rather than played. That's the feeling Sweet Charles and the Daps gave us. A slow, syrupy soul that slipped under your skin and stayed there.
You got to get down, 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 down. All right.
They weren't big names. They weren't built for mainstream fame. But in 1974, under the shadow of James Brown's People Records label, this group carved out something singular. Sweet Charles Sherrill, longtime bassist and bandleader for Brown, stepped forward with a voice that didn't shout. It's scientific. His song, Yes It's You, became a Quiet Storm classic before the term ever existed. It's the kind of song you'd hear once on a late-night radio station and spend years trying to find again. Sparse drums, gentle organ, whispered strings, and that voice. Half prayer, half confession. It wasn't trying to sell you anything. It was just telling the truth, a touching detail. Charles recorded the vocal alone in the studio, lights off, sitting in the corner with nothing but a single mic in his memory. You can feel that solitude in every line. It's not sadness, it's understanding, the kind that only comes from living. The Daps, a Cincinnati-based soul funk outfit who had previously backed Brown, brought the musical bedrock. solid, subtle, and full of feeling. Together they made music that felt like the end of the night, when the crowd is gone and only the soul remains. They were a whisper in a world of noise, and sometimes a whisper is all you need. These weren't the chart kings or the headline names, but they were the music you lived with, on back porches, in borrowed cars, through breakups and beginnings. Bands like these didn't always get the spotlight, but they gave us light just the same. Their records may not fill the shelves at the record stores now, but they still fill the quiet moments with meaning. They were part of the soundtracks we didn't always know we needed. So, thank you for remembering, for letting these songs live again, for keeping the echoes alive. If you felt something stirring tonight, you're in good company. And if you'd like to keep those memories close, subscribing is the gentlest way to say, let's keep listening. And when you're ready to walk through the next door, join us for the next chapter. 10 Greatest R&B bands you've never heard of. Hidden gems from 1950s. It's waiting for you at the end of this video. We'll see you there, quietly, always.